What if I told you that the single most important decision you will make today has nothing to do with your career, your relationships, or your finance? What if the most critical choice you face right now is happening in the invisible realm of your thoughts, in the quiet conversations you have with yourself every moment of every day? Here's a question that will determine the trajectory of your entire life. Are you consciously choosing the thoughts that shape your reality, or are you allowing random, negative mental programming to control your destiny? In over 4 decades of studying human achievement and working with millions of people worldwide, I've discovered an undeniable truth that Harvard Medical School research has now confirmed. Your thoughts don't just influence your life, they literally create it. Dr. Sarah Lazar's groundbreaking neuroscience studies at Massachusetts General Hospital prove that our brains physically reshape themselves based on our dominant thought pattern. When you think negative thoughts repeatedly, you're actually strengthening neural pathways that make negativity your default mental state. Conversely, when you consciously choose positive, solution-focused thoughts, you're rewiring your brain for success, happiness, and achievement. Yet here's the startling reality most Americans face today. According to the National Science Foundation, the average person thinks between 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day, and researchers at UCLA found that up to 95% of these thoughts are repetitive, with 80% being negative. This means that without conscious intervention, you're allowing your mind to become a toxic dump of worry, doubt, fear, and limitation. You're literally poisoning your potential every single day. The consequences of this mental pollution are devastating and measurable. The American Psychological Association reports that chronic negative thinking contributes to anxiety disorders affecting 40 million adults, depression impacting over 26 million Americans annually, and stress-related illnesses that cost our healthcare system over $300 billion every year. But these statistics only scratch the surface of the real tragedy. Millions of talented, capable, intelligent people living far below their potential because they've never learned to detoxify their minds. But here's the magnificent truth that changes everything. Just as you can detoxify your body from physical toxins, you can completely cleanse your mind from mental pollution. Just as you wouldn't knowingly drink contaminated water or breathe polluted air, you don't have to accept toxic thoughts as inevitable. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 scientifically proven steps that will help you detoxify your mind, reprogram your mental patterns, and unlock the extraordinary potential that lies dormant within you. This isn't theory or wishful thinking. This is a precise methodology based on the fundamental laws of psychology and neuroscience. When you apply these 5 steps consistently, you'll experience what I call the compound effect of positive thinking. Just as compound interest multiplies your financial investment, compound positivity multiplies your mental resources, your energy, your creativity, and your ability to achieve any goal you set for yourself. The first essential step in detoxifying your mind is what I call environmental filtration, and it's based on one of the most powerful principles in human psychology. You become what you're exposed to consistently. Your mind operates exactly like a sophisticated absorption system, constantly taking in information, emotions, and energy from everything and everyone around you. The challenge is that most people treat their mental environment with less care than they treat their physical diet. Consider this remarkable study from Dr. Nicholas Christakis at Harvard University, which tracked over 12,000 people for 32 years. The research revealed that happiness and positivity spread through social networks like viruses. If your friend becomes happier, you're 15% more likely to be happy. If your friend's friend becomes happier, you're 10% more likely to experience increased well-being. But here's the crucial insight. The same contagion effect occurs with negativity, depression, and limiting beliefs. This means that every conversation you engage in, every piece of media you consume, every person you spend time with is either adding toxins to your mental environment or contributing to your psychological health. Most Americans unknowingly poison their minds daily by consuming what I call the triple toxin: negative news, toxic relationships, and limitation-focused entertainment. Let's examine the devastating impact of negative news consumption. Research from Dr. Graham Davey at Sussex University demonstrates that just 14 minutes of negative news significantly increases anxiety and sadness, while Dr. Larry Rosen's studies at California State University show that people who watched negative news before bed experienced disrupted sleep patterns and increased cortisol levels for up to 8 hours. Yet the average American consumes over 11 hours of media daily, with news programming designed specifically to trigger fear, anger, and anxiety because these emotions increase viewership and advertising revenue. The solution is implementing what I call selective exposure protocol. You must become as intentional about what enters your mind as you are about what enters your body. This means conducting a comprehensive audit of your mental diet. For the next 7 days, track everything you consume intellectually, the conversations you engage in, the social media content you scroll through, the television programs you watch, the podcasts you listen to, even the music that plays in your environment. After completing this audit, categorize everything into 3 columns: toxic, neutral, and nourishing. Toxic content makes you feel anxious, angry, hopeless, or drained. Neutral content neither adds nor subtracts from your mental energy. Nourishing content inspires you, educates you, motivates you, or fills you with positive emotion. Your goal is to eliminate everything in the toxic column, minimize the neutral column, and maximize the nourishing column. Specifically, this means replacing negative news with educational podcasts or audiobooks. Instead of spending your commute listening to traffic reports and disaster stories, feed your mind with content that teaches you new skills or reinforces positive thinking patterns. Replace toxic relationships with supportive connections. This doesn't mean abandoning people who are struggling, but it does mean limiting exposure to chronic complainers, pessimists, and energy vampires who drain your mental resources without contributing anything positive. Create what I call a positivity sanctuary in your living space. Surround yourself with books that inspire growth, images that motivate achievement, and quotes that reinforce your highest aspiration. Remember, your environment is constantly programming your subconscious mind. Make sure it's programming you for success, not failure. The second critical step in mental detoxification is internal dialogue transformation, and it's based on one of the most important discoveries in cognitive psychology. You literally become what you repeatedly tell yourself. Dr. Schuthelmstetter's research on self-talk reveals that the average person engages in over 50,000 internal conversations daily, and for most people, these conversations are predominantly negative, self-critical, and limiting. Your internal dialogue operates like a continuous software program running in the background of your consciousness, shaping your beliefs, emotions, behaviors, and ultimately your results. The tragedy is that most people inherited their internal dialogue programming from childhood experiences, societal conditioning, and past failures, creating what psychologists call learned helpless and limiting belief systems that sabotage success before it even begins. Dr. Martin Seligman's groundbreaking work at the University of Pennsylvania demonstrates that people with optimistic internal dialogue patterns live longer, earn more money, have better relationships, and experience significantly lower rates of depression and anxiety. Conversely, those with pessimistic self-talk patterns experience what researchers call a downward spiral effect, where negative thoughts create negative emotion, which generate negative behaviors, which produce negative results, which reinforce negative thoughts. The key to breaking this destructive cycle is implementing what I call conscious language reprogramming. This involves becoming acutely aware of your internal voice and deliberately replacing destructive patterns with constructive ones. Most people are completely unconscious of their self-talk pattern, running on autopilot programs that were installed years or even decades ago. Start by conducting what I call a self-talk audit. For 1 full day, carry a small notebook and make a mark every time you catch yourself engaging in negative talk. This includes thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I can't do this is too hard, I always mess up, or I don't deserve success. Most people are shocked to discover they engage in hundreds of negative self-statements daily. Once you become aware of these patterns, you can begin the reprogramming process. The technique is simple, but requires consistency. Every time you catch yourself in negative self-talk, immediately stop the thought and replace it with a positive, empowering alternative. Instead of, I can't do this, say, I'm learning how to do this. Instead of, I'm not good enough, say, I'm improving every day. Instead of, this is too hard, say, this is challenging me to grow stronger. The key is making these replacements immediately and repeatedly. Neuroscience research from Dr. Jeffrey Schwartz at UCLA shows that it takes approximately 66 days of consistent practice to create new neural pathways and replace old thought patterns. This means you must be vigilant and persistent in monitoring and correcting your internal dialogue for at least 2 months before these new patterns become automatic. Additionally, create what I call power phrases, positive affirmations specifically designed to counter your most common negative thought pattern. Write them down and repeat them multiple times throughout the day, especially first thing in the morning and last thing before sleep, when your subconscious mind is most receptive to programming. The third fundamental step in mental detoxification is solution-focused thinking, which represents a complete paradigm shift from the way most people approach challenges and problems. This principle is rooted in what psychologists call cognitive reframing, but it goes far deeper than simple positive thinking. It's about rewiring your brain to automatically seek opportunities and solutions rather than dwelling on obstacles and complaints. Research from the Stanford Center for Work, Technology, and Organization reveals that solution-focused individuals earn an average of 37% more than their problem-focused counterparts and are promoted 64% more frequently. Why? Because employers desperately need people who solve problems rather than create or magnify them. But more importantly, solution-focused thinking literally changes your brain chemistry, increasing the production of dopamine and serotonin while reducing cortisol and other stress hormones. Dr. Barbara Fredrickson's research at the University of North Carolina demonstrates what she calls the broaden and build effect of positive emotion. When you focus on solutions rather than problems, you literally expand your cognitive capacity, improve your creative thinking ability, and increase your resilience in the face of challenges. Conversely, problem-focused thinking creates what psychologists call tunnel vision, where you can only see obstacles and limitations. The transformation begins with changing the fundamental question you ask when facing any challenge. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" or "What's wrong with this situation?" you must train yourself to immediately ask, "How can I solve this?" or "What opportunity does this challenge present?" This simple shift in questioning activates completely different neural networks in your brain. When Thomas Edison's laboratory burned down in 1914, destroying millions of dollars worth of equipment and years of research, he didn't waste time lamenting the tragedy. Instead, he immediately told his son, "Go get your mother and all her friends. They'll never see a fire like this again." The next morning, he was already making plans to rebuild, saying, "All our mistakes are burned up. Thank God we can start anew." This is solution-focused thinking in action. To develop this mental skill, implement what I call the 24-hour solution. When any problem or challenge arises, give yourself exactly 24 hours to feel frustrated, worried, or upset about it. After 24 hours, you must shift into pure solution mode. Spend your mental energy identifying possible solutions, gathering resources, consulting with experts, and taking action steps, no matter how small. Create a solution journal where you write down every challenge you face and brainstorm at least 3 possible solutions for each one. Don't worry about whether the solutions are perfect or complete. The goal is training your brain to automatically generate options rather than getting stuck in problem analysis paralysis. Remember, every problem contains within it the seeds of an equivalent or greater benefit. Successful people understand that problems are simply opportunities in workloads. When you train your mind to seek solutions rather than dwell on problems, you transform from being a victim of circumstances into being a creator of possibilities. The fourth essential principle for mental detoxification is strategic mental detachment, which involves learning to release mental energy from situations, people, and outcomes that are beyond your direct control. This principle is based on the fundamental psychological concept of locus of control, first developed by Dr. Julian Rotter, which determines whether you focus your energy on things you can influence or waste it on things you cannot change. Dr. Stephen Covey's research identified this as the difference between your circle of concern and your circle of influence. Your circle of concern includes everything that affects your life, the economy, other people's decisions, world events, the weather, your past mistakes, and countless other factors. Your circle of influence includes only those things you can directly control: your thoughts, your words, your actions, your responses, and your decisions. The tragedy is that most people spend the majority of their mental energy focused on their circle of concern, which creates anxiety, frustration, and a sense of powerlessness. Meanwhile, they neglect their circle of influence, which is where all their real power lies. This misallocation of mental energy is one of the primary sources of stress, worry, and emotional exhaustion in modern life. Research from the Mayo Clinic shows that chronic worry about uncontrollable factors contributes to weakened immune function, sleep disorders, digestive problems, and cardiovascular disease. Dr. Robert Sapolsky's studies at Stanford University demonstrate that people who focus primarily on uncontrollable factors have elevated cortisol levels that literally shrink the hippocampus, the brain region responsible for memory and learning. Strategic mental detachment means developing the wisdom to distinguish between what you can control and what you cannot, then having the discipline to focus exclusively on what you can influence. This doesn't mean becoming apathetic or uncaring. It means becoming strategically selective about where you invest your precious mental resources. The practice begins with what I call the control assessment technique. When facing any situation that creates stress or worry, ask yourself 3 fundamental questions. Can I directly influence this outcome through my action? If yes, what specific actions can I take? If no, what can I learn from this situation? And then how can I let it go? For situations you cannot control, implement the release ritual. Visualize yourself literally placing the worry, concern, or problem into a box, sealing it, and setting it aside. Tell yourself, I cannot control this situation, so I release it from my active concern. I will focus my energy on what I can influence. This isn't denial or avoidance. It's strategic energy allocation. Develop what the Stoic philosophers call the discipline of desire, training yourself to want only what you control and accepting what you cannot control without resistance. This mental discipline, practiced consistently, creates what Dr. Albert Ellis called rational emotional responses, where you maintain emotional equilibrium regardless of external circumstances. Practice the serenity principle daily. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This isn't just a nice saying. It's a scientific approach to mental health and peak performance. The 5th and final step in complete mental detoxification is positive mental programming through gratitude and visualization, 2 of the most powerful tools for rewiring your brain for success, happiness, and achievement. This principle is based on cutting-edge neuroscience that proves your brain cannot distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and actual experiences, which means you can literally program your mind for success before it happens in reality. Dr. Robert Emmons' research at UC Davis, involving over 10,000 participants, demonstrates that people who practice daily gratitude experience 25% higher happiness levels, sleep better, have stronger immune systems, and live longer than those who don't. But gratitude does far more than improve your mood. It fundamentally rewires your brain's reticular activating system, the neural network that determines what you notice and focus on in your environment. When you consistently practice gratitude, you train your brain to seek out positive experiences, opportunities, and possibilities rather than focusing on problems, threats, and limitations. This creates what psychologists call a positive feedback loop, where gratitude generates positive emotion, which improve your performance, which creates more things to be grateful for. Dr. Garnew's research at the Cleveland Clinic proves that visualization alone can increase muscle strength by up to 35%, demonstrating the incredible power of mental rehearsal. When you consistently visualize success, achievement, and positive outcomes, you're literally programming your subconscious mind to notice opportunities and take actions that align with your visualized goals. The most effective approach combines both practices in what I call the gratitude visualization protocol. Every morning, immediately upon waking, spend 5 minutes identifying 3 specific things you're genuinely grateful for. Don't just list them. Actually feel the emotion of gratitude. Research shows that the emotional component is crucial for creating lasting neural changes. Then spend 10 minutes in detailed visualization of your ideal life, your goals achieved, and your dreams realized. See it clearly, feel it deeply, and experience it as if it's already your reality. Dr. Maxwell Maltz's research in psychocybernetics proves that your subconscious mind accepts vividly imagined experiences as real instructions for creating your future reality. Every evening before sleep, repeat this process, but focus your gratitude on the day's positive experiences, lessons learned, and progress made, no matter how small. This trains your brain to end each day on a positive note and programs your subconscious mind to work on your goals while you sleep. Create a gratitude journal and write down 5 things you're grateful for every day. Research from Dr. Martin Seligman shows that this simple practice, maintained for just 1 week, increases happiness levels for up to 6 months. But don't stop at 1 week. Make this a lifelong practice that continuously elevates your mental state. Visualization must be specific, detailed, and emotionally charged. Don't just think about success. See yourself succeeding. Don't just want financial freedom. Visualize exactly how it feels to have complete financial security. Don't just hope for better relationships. Imagine the specific conversations, experiences, and emotions of deeply fulfilling connections with others. The key is consistency and intensity. These practices must become as automatic as brushing your teeth. Set specific times for gratitude and visualization, and guard these appointments with yourself as sacred. Remember, you're literally rewiring your brain and reprogramming your future reality. Now, let me synthesize these 5 essential steps for complete mental detoxification into a clear, actionable framework that you can implement immediately. First, environmental filtration. Consciously curate everything that enters your mind, eliminating toxic inputs and maximizing nourishing content. Second, internal dialogue transformation. Monitor and modify your self-talk pattern, replacing negative programming with empowering language. Third, solution-focused thinking. Train your brain to automatically seek opportunities and solutions rather than dwelling on problems. Fourth, strategic mental detachment. Focus exclusively on what you can control while releasing concern about what you cannot influence. Fifth, positive mental programming. Daily practices of gratitude and visualization to rewire your brain for success and happiness. These 5 principles work synergistically to create what I call a detoxified mind, a mental state characterized by clarity, optimism, resilience, creativity, and unshakable confidence in your ability to achieve any goal you set for yourself. When you consistently apply these principles, you'll experience increased energy, enhanced focus, improved relationships, greater productivity, and a profound sense of inner peace and empowerment. But remember, mental detoxification is not a one-time event. It's a continuous process that requires daily commitment and conscious effort. Just as your body requires regular exercise and proper nutrition to stay healthy, your mind requires consistent positive programming to stay clear and powerful. The toxins of negativity, doubt, fear, and limitation are constantly trying to seep back into your consciousness through media, conversation, and old thought patterns. The magnificent truth is that you have complete control over your mental environment and internal programming. You can choose to be a victim of random mental pollution, or you can take charge of your thoughts and create the exact mindset that will propel you toward your greatest goals and dreams. Every thought you think, every word you speak to yourself, every piece of content you consume is either moving you closer to your potential or away from it. Starting today, make the commitment to guard your mind with the same vigilance you would use to protect your most valuable possession. Because the truth is, your mind is your most valuable possession. It's the control center of your entire life experience. When you detoxify your mind, you don't just change your thinking, you change your entire reality. I challenge you to implement these 5 steps for the next 30 days and observe the transformation in your energy, attitude, performance, and results. Set a specific time each morning for environmental filtration review and positive mental programming. Throughout the day, practice internal dialogue transformation and solution-focused thinking. Each evening, engage in strategic mental detachment and gratitude reflection. Track your progress, celebrate your improvement, and adjust your approach as needed. Remember, this is not about perfection. It's about progression. Every positive change you make in your mental programming creates compound benefits that multiply over time. Every toxic thought you refuse to entertain is a victory that strengthens your mental muscles for future challenges. Your mind has unlimited potential for growth, creativity, achievement, and happiness. But that potential can only be realized when you take conscious control of your mental environment and consistently program yourself for success. The choice is yours, and the time is now. Start today, start immediately, and watch as your transformed mindset creates the extraordinary life you were meant to live. Remember, you become what you think about most of the time, so think about success, think about possibilities, think about the magnificent future that awaits you when you detoxify your mind and unleash your unlimited potential.